the biggest thing with content marketing that I see talking to businesses or other people is that they're either writing the wrong things, so they're focusing maybe on what they do and about their own products and services, or they're using it as like company promotion or information. And really, most people don't care about that. So one of the examples that I like to use is American Express's Open Forum. And what they did was they basically created a site focused all around the pain points and benefits of the small business market. So what they did was they narrowed down and focused on a particular niche, so that they could really do like full justice to that. Because otherwise, a company like American Express wouldn't be able to create content, for example, for large companies, small companies, different types of companies, all that.
Right. So that's the idea then. You say so you make content that people actually want to read and not just trying to sell people stuff.
Well, that's definitely the first step. And then so the second thing too that I see or I like to recommend is focus on what your product or service actually does for people. So it could be like an experience, or it could be like what people how they would actually use your product, like an in action. So another example is like Lowe's hardware store. So what they do is they'll have a site that talks about how to like set up your back porch, or how to do something interesting with their like paint or supplies, all that kind of stuff.
Right. So like how-to videos that teach people, and then so someone looks online for how to like install something in their home, and then they find that site, and then they're like, oh, maybe I'll go buy from them.
Yeah, definitely. Or even like a hotel, for example, instead of doing stuff about like your rooms or whatever, like bring maybe bloggers into your hotel and let them, kind of just do like a case study or a showcase of everything, or throw an event and put on like an actual experience for people and make it like, something larger than itself.
Right. So you want to get other people talking about it in a way that's genuine. Yeah. Gotcha. So is that like the key of SEO then now, is just focus on just content?
No, that's definitely one of the things. It's like if your product or service isn't interesting, then it's really hard to do marketing. So it's the same way online. If your content is interesting or people don't like it right off the bat, then it's really hard to get people to link to it and share to it. So kind of like we were saying, like people won't naturally link to some like commerce website, or like if you have an insurance website. People don't like find that interesting, or they're not going to talk about it on Twitter or something. Right. So what you have to do is you have to figure out, okay, like what would make them talk about it. So maybe you create, and content could be anything. So it could be, maybe you create like a free tool or calculator that's like really simple, but it helps them, give them an easy answer to something, or stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So I guess to kind of like go beyond that, how SEO is evolving is the type of links that you want to. So in the old days, SEO, you would try to like build up your site for one or two major key phrases, and you want the main page to rank, for those major key phrases, because you get all this traffic if you got on the first page. But that's kind of dying now, because search engines are all the rankings are personalized. So based on your social media connections, your past browsing history, and your physical location. So the idea of ranking for like major phrases is kind of going away, I guess, and especially with the recent updates, it's not really working. So what you want to do is kind of go more of a long tail strategy, go after the less competitive, obviously, but more descriptive key phrases. And again, blogs and creating content is a great way to do that, because you're able to pick up a lot of different key phrases quickly.
Gotcha. So tell us how you would target a specific key phrase, and what key phrase would be good. Like, you're talking about long tail keywords. Are we talking about like 8 words that like no one ever searches, or like how many searches a month would you focus on?
Sure. So typically it goes back to like how big your site is. So typically long tail will be anything from like 3 to 5 key phrases or keywords in a phrase. For what I like to tell people is if they're like a new site or a small site, they can easily go use the free Google AdWords keyword tool.
Yeah.
And anything under 500 typically for local monthly searches, exact local monthly searches, is a pretty good range. If you're a little bigger and you're kind of established already, then a good range would be like anything like 1,000 and less. Those are just like quick rules of thumb. There's a lot of other ways to use paid services to really go deeper. So I'll use SEO Moz's program,
Right.
to, they have a keyword difficulty tool. And what you want to do is you want to look, okay, what's the current competition that's currently ranking for these words?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, based on my site's strength, can I compete with them realistically or not?
Right. So how would you build up your site's strength so you could compete?
Sure. So one of the ways is, I mean, obviously the biggest way is getting links. So the way you go about that now is kind of different and changed. So what I like to focus on are editorial links are really good. So either that's you placing content on other people's sites, like guest posting. It could be content syndication. So maybe you give them content to post. Maybe you let them embed your video. Maybe you, you know, infographics, all that kind of stuff. Another big way is social media, obviously. So links from social media, using social media to like spread the other stuff. So like, let's say you put a guest post on another site, you also want to help that site promote it and build links and stuff, because that's going to help you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What are some other ways? I guess like we talked about before too, is when you create something like really interesting or really unique, like take like a tool or calculator, for example. Those are really easy ways to kind of build up links because they're not like your typical text article or you know, video interview or something like that you typically see on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
Especially when you're in less competitive industries, those are really good ways typically.
Gotcha. Cool. So then, how do you monetize SEO? I mean, you get this traffic coming through. Like, how do you actually make money from it?
Sure. So it depends, I guess, too, on what type of business you're running. I'm not a big fan of like advertising. I don't think that really works well online. So typically, you're either looking at products, like your own products, or affiliate deals, or your own services. So if it's a business selling services, then that's, you know, kind of obvious. Or you could sell, you know, consulting or freelance services on specific skill or whatever. So in either case, you typically want to try and get those people to be leads as quickly as possible. So I like to just promote or, you know, talk about email. I think that's like the best kind of gauge of a value of a lead. You know, a lot better than like buying a Facebook fan or Twitter follow or something.
Right. Totally. Yeah, I focus on email marketing as well. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's all about the money's in the list. All the big internet marketers who make millions of dollars a year, they all say, you know, the money's in the list. You know, I focus on building my list. So how do you build a list?
The variety of ways, like typically you're going to need a lot of traffic because it's kind of a numbers game. So like, let's say your site's converting overall at like 1 or 2 or 3%, you can kind of back it out and figure out, okay, if I want 100 email subscribers a month, then I need to get, you know, however many. And then what you do is you look at, okay, can I create pages? Can I, that target something really specific? So maybe that'll increase the conversion rate. Can I, you know, use pop-ups? Can I put like email links, like on the bottom of a blog post? All those different ways, like placement and how you're going to kind of basically funnel people to where they're going to convert, like that point of conversion. And then from there, you figure out, okay, can I tweak the messaging? Maybe I can give them, you know, incentivize them with a free report or like a discount on something. You know, that's usually how.
Gotcha. And do you ever use like social media, like fan gating kind of thing, where they have to like take some kind of action on your site in order to get like your free report or something like that?
Yeah, I've used that a lot on promotions, like even with big companies. So a lot of times I'll give you a few examples. Like one way is if you're going to run a promotion, I will make like the method of entry. You have to go through Facebook, for example. So like running promotions on those sites is hard because there's so many rules and guidelines and everything that you could trip up. But if you use it kind of like as a method of entry, or people have to go through that, like you said, like, you know, whatever they call it, like a like gate or something like that. So the same thing applies to email too. And then another way, even working with big companies, and they have like these huge email lists of like 400,000 people, and you survey them, and none of them even know you have a blog, or none of them even know that you're on Facebook or whatever. So a lot of times we'll use like reward points or something that they already kind of want, that, you know, essentially really, really cheap or free to the company,
Right.
and use that as kind of like a method or incentive.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So you're basically giving out free stuff to people in order to get them to like your Facebook page or like you on Twitter or, like your blog post or get on your email list or whatever.
Yeah, easiest way. And then from there, you kind of have to, I guess like based on your business, it depends on what the free thing is. So if you're in like a commodity business or you do like deal mainly with transactions, then you can give them like a coupon or something, a discount. But if you're selling high price goods or services, you don't necessarily want to give them like free stuff because it's devaluing what you're doing. So maybe in that case, you give them free content, free access too is also good. So maybe it's like priority access or, yeah, like, free content in general, especially I'm trying to think of like good tangible examples. So earlier I mentioned SEO mods. They, have really good software, but what they also do is they'll promote exclusive content that helps you, do your job better. So that kind of stuff's really valuable.
Right. So they offer free training and stuff on how to do SEO, and then you're like, well, I like their SEO training. Well, maybe I'll buy their software too.
And it keeps you around longer too. So that's a big thing with like social media and all these things is they keep people engaged with you longer. So the lifetime value of the customer is going to go up. Right,
definitely. And we all know if you're studying marketing at all, it's like takes 5 to 7 touches at least for someone to go from cold prospect to customer. Mm-hmm. So if you can get those touches through Facebook and Twitter and your blog and your email, then you're a lot more likely to convert them to buyers, right?
Yeah, definitely. And then you can even sometimes your business even is like one-off transactions. There's so many creative ways. If you have that attention over time, then there's so many creative ways that you can monetize that. So whether it's, creating more of like a continuity type membership thing or, like offering, upselling or cross-selling, like there's so many ways that you could, get people who've already bought to really more value out of that.
Right, definitely. And that's one of the biggest things online is that once you build that platform with your marketing, let's say you've got 10,000 Facebook fans or 10,000 people on your email list or whatever, that's valuable like in itself, like that becomes its own asset in the business. So let's say right now you only sell like dog training services, and once you have that big database, that big platform, you can go and expand to, dog treats and whatever else, you can expand the market and make more money from that platform you've already created.
Definitely. The platform kind of gives you so many ways to leverage. So even if you're not directly monetizing it with products or services, you could leverage it into like speaking gigs, for example, because it gives you a lot of credibility.
Right.
Or you leverage it into maybe getting, a book deal or, other interesting thing, maybe like an interview with a big magazine or something.
Right.
And then you can also I mentioned I wasn't really a big fan of advertising, but you could even do like, advertorial type stuff, or when you talk more about like affiliates, people will just approach you with deals, like with opportunities all the time because you have such a platform, and that's really the hard part.
Right.
Is build it first.
Right. Gotcha.
Money, so.
Right. Gotcha. So how do you go from like nothing to building a platform? Let's say you're just some dude working from home who wants to, quit his job and make money online. How do you build that platform?
It's a lot of time and effort. No, the biggest thing I think to start with is like really be clear on what you're doing or who you're targeting. So like you have to be really good at it, and you have to know and be an expert on whatever area or whatever topic you're going to start talking about, and you're going to start being like an authority on, because that's really what you're doing is you're really building your thought leadership, I guess. So that's kind of the first step, is figuring out not only what you're really good at, but also where you compete. So going into some super, tough place or tough market that's really competitive and almost mature is going to be really more difficult. So if you can find something easier, maybe that, I don't know, something random like pet grooming supplies or something, you can really dump, would be a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, I also think too that like if it's a really competitive market, then that they're buying customers in that market. Like, like weight loss, for instance, like it's multi-billion-dollar industry, but even someone brand new who figured out how to lose 40 pounds can go in that market and make money because there's so many people that need to do that, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's a really good point, because a lot of times too, people think they have like a really brilliant idea or something, and then they test it or they go try and do something in it and nothing happens, and you're like, well, there's a reason that there's no market.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so there's a big difference between like no market and like a little sizable market that you can do.
Right.
What else? And then like we talked about too, kind of creating that platform. So you kind of have to create content. That's kind of like the essential building block of anything, whether you're doing Facebook updates or even if you're writing an ad on AdWords. It's, you know, the copy on the headline, the actual copy to get people to click through, even the images you're using. That's all content. So you kind of have to figure out really like how to get good at that and how to figure out what people like.
How do you get good at that? I mean, do you just know? Like, do you just know, like, if I write this ad and put this picture on there, that's gonna convert, or do you just have to test everything?
So you have to test everything, but over time, once you get good at it, like I can look at ads or I can look at people's blog posts and say like they have no idea what they're doing, or you know, like you know they're good, or you can judge like quality. Studying copywriting is definitely like the first step for doing anything like any content online. So buy some books. There's not like a ton out there that are good. I'm trying to think. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but if you go to Amazon and you look at like the first couple, you can usually judge that those are pretty good.
Yeah.
Also, what you should do is you should watch how, not like what people are saying, but what they're actually doing. So go to websites and sign up for email lists, like big content marketers or big copywriters, and don't like listen so much about what they're saying, but look at like how they're writing their emails, like what their subject lines are. How they get you to kind of like read in more like deeper. So that teaches you like how to write a lead or how to get people to, you know, like how to phrase a call to action to get more people, that kind of thing.
Right. That's definitely one of the biggest tips I've learned is, you know, go on all of these people in your industry or your competitors or just experts out there who are doing it already and like get on their email list and see exactly what they do and just copy it. Like I literally just like, this guy I know, he's been a mentor of mine. He's a multi-millionaire venture capitalist. He calls it R&D, rip off and duplicate. And you basically just take what someone else has done and you just like copy and paste it and then put your own information in there and make it, you know, true to yourself. And I do that all the time with email marketing. I mean, I'll take like this big guru who makes $1 million a year and I'll copy his email and I'll just like, you know, change, you know, from his industry to mine and make it, you know, sound like me a little bit. But I know that the way he leads into that email and that the subject line, like I know it's going to convert because it converts for him, right?
Yeah, definitely. And like you were saying, it's not exactly like what they're saying, or it's just like how they're phrasing stuff, like the structure of it.
Yeah.
So even I'll keep like a bunch of stuff in Evernote, or even in my so I'll keep like old headlines that work well, or like different ideas, and then I'll also keep for people's email lists, I'll keep them like in separate labels or like filters in my in Gmail, and so I'll go back through and say like, okay, how often are people sending emails like when they're doing lead nurturing? Are they doing it every 3 days? Are they doing it every 6 days? Or you know, how many like calls to action? So how many emails in a row are they kind of like asking for something, or whatever, getting you to click, or how many are educational, all that kind of stuff.
Right. So have you come up with some secret formula then for email marketing, and you know, this many calls to action and that many content emails or whatever?
All this is really good to get you like a baseline to get you started, but then you just have to test everything like religiously. So you have to really get in the habit of like trying new things and experimenting, because literally you don't know what's going to work. Even like stuff I'll do on one site or in one industry doesn't work at all, or may work, you know, 10 times better with another company or another site. And even a lot of things, the other thing you have to be careful about is a lot of times when people are like big sites can do things that you can't if you're just starting out.
Right.
So like maybe a tactic they use, or I don't know, they talk about how to use Twitter a certain way, like that's great for them, but it's probably not going to work at all for you, and you have to figure out a different way to like you know, to succeed or to do whatever.
Right, gotcha. So if you are just starting out brand new, I mean, how long does it take to build up like SEO credibility, and to build up following, to build that platform?
I guess it depends on your goal. So like first you have to figure out ahead, and this is why it's helpful to do it ahead of time, is like what are you trying to do? Are you trying to build, if you're trying, for example, that are lower price, you might have to build like a lot bigger of an audience. You might need, you know, 10,000 people, or, you know, on your email list. If you're selling services, maybe you only need, you know, 1,000 or less, and you can live comfortably or make a spare income, or whatever. So, but not within the first 6 months. Like, it's going to be slow, and you're going to try a lot of different stuff that may not work, and you're going to get frustrated. So, for at least 6 months, then, you know, you probably shouldn't even try. But then beyond, no reason why you can't get like, 10,000 visits a month within a year.
Right, totally.
Like a sizable, like 1,000 people subscribers within a year, like all that kind of stuff. It's definitely realistic. So.
Right, definitely. Yeah, that's how it was with my blog. I started in October 2011, and 5, 6 months in, I was getting a couple thousand hits a month, and all of a sudden, month 8, I got over 100,000 hits that month. And
Right.
it's like, how is that possible? But the first 6 months, if I looked at it like, oh, this is gonna be so successful, like someone looking from the outside was like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, right? But it takes time to build up. I was like guest posting like every day, getting like links like you would not believe. But it was showing a little bit of traffic, but not much until month 7 and 8. So
Yeah, and it snowballs though. So
exactly,
like
yeah.
the progress is really slow and like kind of painful. But then you could almost like at a certain point you could almost stop like doing all marketing and like you'll still grow.
Exactly.
So that's the lining, I guess. Is if you get through that hump, then you'll make it. So.
Right. So you got to be willing to go for kind of that long haul, right?
Definitely, and it's not like and you have to like pace yourself too. It doesn't matter if you, like we said, it doesn't matter if you post like 5 times a day or you're like doing all this extra work. It's still going to take like some time in the beginning.
Right. Exactly.
And too, like you have to figure out what works for your audience. You have to figure out like what methods work better than others. So whether that's maybe all of a sudden you try like a new advertisement and it's like just killing.
Right.
So you'll waste a lot of time at the beginning, like trying to figure out what channels work and all that kind of stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, that's what I think is so important. Like you said, it takes, whether you post 5 times a day or once a day or once a week, it still takes 6 months to do anything. So, like start now, like start early. Like with a blog, like who cares if your blog is ugly? Who cares? Whatever. Just put some content up there and start building some links naturally, and then you can upgrade. You can change the design. You can do whatever. But if you don't start, you're never gonna get indexed by Google in the first place.
Yeah, and especially when people don't know you, then it doesn't really matter. Like
yeah, exactly, totally.
Sometimes you feel like, oh, I don't want to do this and hurt my brand or whatever. And it's like, well, you don't have. Like, no one knows who you are, so just like literally, like change something on your website or try like a new tactic, and you never know like what's going to happen or what's going to work. And then when you see, you'll know when something is good or bad. See like a little blip or like a little positive sign. So you just kind of keep going down that road then.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so much easier, like you said, to change it like when you're small, because once you get like 1 million, you got 1 million visitors, like you can't just tweak your website like that. You got to like create a whole new website or something and test it. Like, that takes a lot of money, a lot of time to do. But if you're just small and brand new, you can change the design overnight. No one cares.
Yeah, and every other email you send can be different. Like one could be HTML, one could be plain text, one could be both, one could be video. You could just do that like every other day and figure out like, okay, people unsubscribe. So maybe that one's not like a good idea, but
right, definitely, cool. Well, Brad, thanks so much for being with us today. I know you've taught us a lot of really valuable information. Where can people find out more about you and the work that you do?
My fixcourse.com, and basically the whole idea is just to help businesses grow. Like, I think like a lot of marketing information isn't that great online, or a lot of it may be deceiving, or so I kind of break down like what I've done with actual clients and what actually works, and try and give like case studies kind of stuff.
Awesome. Case studies. I love case studies. You actually learn like someone actually did it.
Right, exactly.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks so much for being with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.